Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Mike Morales here in Southern California. You are watching and listening to a brand new edition of Sipping Off the Cuff. I'm here in SoCal, and that gentleman out there is
Bryce Taylor in Austin, Texas.
Bryce and I have been actually very impressed with this particular brand. It's an American agave spirit called Ameragave. They are based in Texas. As you can see, I've had a little bit of spillage. Um, we actually their silver version. This is again an American agave spirit. I love the coloring on this. It's nice. It works really well with if you look at their silver, it looks got that Tiffany blue, and this is more of a royal blue with the gold
Yeah.
raised lettering. So it looks really great against the juice. See that? Very cool. I mean,
Yeah.
the design work on this is nice. Um, what was the name of that tequila? I'm trying to remember what the name of it was because they had similar bottles like this, but the shoulders were sloped. And they're also based in Texas. A couple of great guys that owned it, and they still run it. What was it called? Jeez, I forget. They have another bottle that's shaped like the state of Texas. As an
Oh, Republic?
Yeah, that's it. Republic.
Yeah.
Republic
Yeah.
had two separate styles. This was called the broad market style, and they had the silver star, the ray star. I mean, they did, and the shoulders were a little bit more sloped, but it had the similar kind of look to it.
Okay. I don't remember that one. I remember their Texas one, but yeah.
Yeah, well, that's the one that got really popular, but they had two, and I think I've got an empty of the other one too, and that's when they were organic. Great guys that were behind it. Just they got lost in the shuffle of the organic tequila thing with that distillery. It's a whole long bad story, but they're still around. So
Yeah.
so what? So this is they're calling it gold. Again, this is an
Hmm.
American agave spirit. And Bryce, explain why it's an American agave spirit.
So it's bulk tequila, but then it's brought into the US. They're going through California, and so you can't name it tequila if it's not produced and bottled in Mexico.
Okay, so they're buying it in bulk and they're bottling it in SoCal. Torrance is I have a cousin that lives in Torrance. I'm even
Yeah, they're aging. We'll get into their aging, but yeah, they're aging and bottling it here in the US.
okay. So we're gonna you can see I had some spillage, but we're gonna pour some in, and I'm gonna use this again a Stazzo Jarrito that I use for normally I use for mezcal, but I like it because it's got a wider mouth.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm
And
going with
yeah, and I
the
pour I usually
low
pour
proof or
yeah, the
regular.
higher proof. And I usually use this for reposados too, and I like using it because I get a more of a nose right off the bat. It
Yeah.
just it just helps speed things up. Otherwise, we're already taking long enough as it is. Um, so uh, I like the color, but how are they aging this and how can they how I mean, I thought for a second and I didn't do a whole hell of a lot of research on it when I saw it and I saw it was they were based in Austin. There's another one based in Dallas that I've been trying to get their stuff a while, and they're also they are a micro distiller, and that's what I thought these folks were, but apparently not.
Yeah. So
So,
this is
so go ahead, explain
yeah, so this is gonna
explain
be
to us.
bulk tequila, so agave spirit here in the US. And this I'll read from their website. So they call it eco mature, which is eco mature's trademarked apparently. Our eco mature process surpasses traditional aging methods using 80% less oak while enhancing the rich, complex flavors you expect from ultra premium spirits. So what the heck does that mean? So they also claim that they're using a very methodical process using pressure, temperature, oxygen, and proof that the spirit engages with the barrel to maximize the result of the flavor imparted by the oak. And so they've got no angel share. So if you're using 80% less oak, they're not barreling this. So I believe, and I've talked to Brett, I don't remember everything. He's the
Brett being
founder.
the owner, he's the founder.
Yeah, the owner, founder, Brett Beckett. It's proprietary, so he didn't tell me everything, but I was trying to get a picture of what they're doing. So I think they have either a larger vessel that they're able to change kind of the pressure and temperature. Because if you have no angel share, you're not using an oak vessel because you can't control that.
Yeah.
Even if you put the barrel in a Ziploc bag, no one would do that, right? But no, so I believe it's a different, and then they must be using either staves or oak chips in that vessel because they do claim that I didn't write it down here, but they're using virgin oak, so it's not ex bourbon. It's virgin American white oak.
That explains why you're getting such an oak nose to it.
Yeah,
Uh,
and then more of those tannins instead of the. You can
Instead
kind
of
of
the
tell if it's held bourbon or not.
right. Well, you can also tell if it's been recharred or anything. And this,
Yeah.
what I know from friends that I've talked to in the whiskey business, and micro distillers, and even one or two other agave spirits that are in Texas, from what I've been told, and I've had to really dig to get this kind of, I was actually consulting with these folks, so I said, you have to tell me the truth, what you're doing with this spirit. And what they told me was, and I did research on this, that they are glass tanks. So they're glass.
Mm.
And these glass tanks, what they do is they basically are tea bagging stuff. I mean, that's what but it's
Seafood,
not
yeah.
even bags of muslin. They're staves. And the staves are for sale. You can buy those. You can buy, French oak staves. You can buy bourbons, virgin oak staves. You can buy acacia. You can buy all that. And then you dip the staves in with the liquid. So and this allows you to temperature control the liquid. I mean, you put a lid
Mm.
on it. I don't know. I'm not a chemist. I'm not exactly sure how. I don't make my own whiskey or anything like that. But I've heard that some whiskey distillers throughout the United States are doing stuff like that. And the difference that I've heard people describe it is like when you age an agave spirit, when you age anything in a barrel, that's like painting with oils. But when you
Mm.
age something this way, it's like painting in watercolors. So,
Okay.
so the barrel in and of itself will impart some qualities to the juice that translate on the palate as in structure, mouthfeel, body, spices, stuff like that. So maybe that's what they're doing, and I don't know if they're using a glass tank or
Yeah.
stainless steel. It sounds like they're using like another type of autoclave. Uh,
Yeah, I'm thinking it's something that they've produced or whoever this the group in California is. When he's
maybe we
talking
need
about
to
it being proprietary, because
maybe we
yeah,
need to go down there and go check those guys out because is
yeah,
it coming from the same place they're bottling? I guess it is, isn't it?
I would imagine, yeah, because it's not happening in Austin.
No, no, but I
Yeah.
mean, again, something similar or something like that happens in the whiskey business, particularly with micro distillers throughout the U.S. who are making their own whiskey, their own corn liquor, and it just speeds up the process.
Yeah, in whiskey, I know that they've talked about rapid aging, where you could take a barrel room and essentially heat it, pressurize it. You could, go through the seasons faster,
Right.
but also another thing about, and they've done it, but you're right. Another thing that we hadn't talked about is just time, the chemicals. Like you could rapid
Exactly.
age something, but that aging happening over time is part of the process,
You know,
maturity.
the barrel expands and contracts with the weather. I
Mm,
mean, I remember I tell this story all the time. My first experience in a barrel room in tequila was when we went to Arete, and I asked the guy at Arete, which is a real small distillery, it's kind of catty corner from Jose Cuervo, and I asked him, "Where's your barrel room?" So he took me across the street, and it's this brick building. It looks like a just like a storehouse. And then he opens these big wooden doors, right? And it's fairly warm in tequila that day, right?
Mm.
He opens it up and you get hit with a blast of heat and all this wood smell. And I was so green at the time. I said, first thing I said, añejo, right? Because that was what it smelled like.
That was your reference point, yeah.
That was my reference point. And this barrel room, which I didn't know that was what it was stacked to the very top, to the eaves with barrels. And you know what their climate control was?
Mm.
They'd go in there. I don't know how many times a day they'd go in there because it was hot. It was hot. Like
Yeah.
it's like an old garage,
It
right?
was more like a rick house
Exactly,
than
exactly.
the traditional tequila barrel rooms.
Yeah, yeah. And so
Yeah.
you know what they would do for climate control, and I think there's still distilleries that do that. They would wet the cement floor. They'd go in there,
Okay.
wet down the cement floor, and you know cool it down a little bit, shut the door,
Yeah.
and then hopefully that evaporates and there's controls the temperature and you have less angel share.
Yeah.
So there's that. I mean, there's lots of ways that they could have gone, but I like the nose on this. It's a little
Yeah.
on the bottom. It's a bit sweeter than I would have expected, but
Yeah. Get some like plum or some. I mean, there's definitely spice, some wood spice, like coming off the tannins. But then
it
I
almost
get kind of
smells
a
like a little bit of bourbon too. I mean, we've had stuff that was aged in bourbon barrels that were kind of like
mhm.
this.
Yeah. Yeah. They don't use, bourbon staves, but yeah, you do get I mean, even the bourbon gets its taste from somewhere. It starts off as a white spirit too.
Yeah, yeah. What was it that you and I did one? The owner was Drake Screws,
Oh yeah, La Casa.
La Casa, and they were
Yeah.
using virgin barrels, correct?
Yeah.
As I remember. And that one had a real strong, oaky añejo on it, which was I
Yeah.
I dug it. I thought it was cool.
Yeah.
But this one's got a sweeter nose and
Yeah.
decent legs and tears. You don't lose any legs and tears. I mean, they pretty much have what you had from the Blanco. Although there they go.
Yeah, their process doesn't seem to be damaging the product.
No,
You
no,
know,
no.
it's not shearing off, but yeah.
All right, well let's dive in
Good,
and
yeah,
see
good pleasant nose, kind of spicy, a little fruity, a little sweet,
yeah, yeah.
like a dark fruit, not
Like a
juicy.
like a ripe fruit of some sort,
Yeah.
like a stone fruit, like a plum or something like that.
Yeah.
All right, well let's dive in because I'm
Yeah.
anxious now.
Okay. Yeah.
First pass, it's sweeter than I expected. It
Mm.
almost tastes a little bit like a French oak.
Yeah. Yeah, I could get that. Yeah, because French oak definitely to me is it's sweeter than American oak. Um,
There's no chocolate notes to it though. I mean, you have to understand, folks. There's no barrel involved.
yeah.
So, so you're not going to get the qualities that that are imparted from a barrel that are indicative of the type of barrel they were using, whether it's French
Yeah. I
oak
mean,
or it's twice used American oak whiskey barrels. There's no whiskey. There's no bourbon. Um,
yeah, I mean they themselves say 80% less oak. So they're only using 20% of the amount of oak that we're used to. So yeah, it's a different beast for sure.
yeah, yeah. It's not bad. I mean,
Yeah.
the quality of the Blanco is still there, and that's why I needed to start with the silver. They're calling it a silver. I think
Hmm.
that's why they had to start with something that was bold enough to stand up to what they were going to do to the Reposado
Yeah.
or their gold. Their gold. I'm sorry. I got to make sure I use the right nomenclature.
Yeah.
I'm gonna.
Yeah, it's spicy, it's sweet. There's good pepper there. I definitely do see like there definitely will be a crossover crowd with the American whiskey, crowd.
Hmm. Hmm.
More so like the bourbon than a rye, but because of that sweetness and that spice.
it's not off-putting, and I can't, you know what?
Yeah.
And I will say this because they claim to be additive free, if that means anything to anybody.
Yeah.
It does it to me it harkens back to the some of the original brands that came out of 1438, which we know is where their juice is coming from. At least that's last Bryce heard, that's where it's coming from.
Yeah. I tasted some early samples, and that's where they were coming from. And their current process is the same as the process that that distiller uses.
Yeah, uh and I've had a long experience with 1438 tequilas that are coming out of there. And I said this in the silver review. Their blancos from that distillery generally, by and large, are solid. Um, where they start losing people is when they start enhancing their reposados and añejos and doing all kinds of funny stuff to it and
And
adding
making them
orange.
stand out. Yeah.
Yeah, making it
By other
stand out.
means. Yeah.
Now it still tastes real. And it reminds me of some of the earlier brands that were coming out of 1438 before they started abusing the enhancements.
Mhm.
Okay. So honestly, Bryce, I I don't hate it.
Yeah, no, I want to give them credit because one, it's an agave spirit, right? So it's
Like,
they get to play outside the rules of tequila. They claim that they're still additive free, which I believe they have this proprietary system that's aging, whatever you want to call it. I guess what they call it. They call it, eco mature. So it's not going to taste the same. We don't have an A/B comparison. So at the end of the day, does this taste good? I think so. I think it's pleasant,
yeah.
It's
I think
good.
that the reason that this technique is working for them is because they're starting with a solid base.
Mhm.
And kudos to him because the only way this was going to work is if he started with a solid Blanco.
Yeah.
And that distillery has lately since 2020 has had a poor reputation for keeping up with quality that is demanded by the brand owners. Where am I getting that? From my insiders. I can't tell you what my sources are, but Bryce knows who my sources are, and so do I. And that's generally what, the general consensus is. That's what's happening. And every brand owner that works with this distillery has a different story. So, but like I said, the only way this was going to work for him is to start with perfect juice. And the finish, now that I'm getting there's a little bit of wood here, okay? And
Yeah.
anywhere you slice it, there's wood in here. It's just being dipped or I can't even use the term teabagged because even in tea bags, you put those in muslin bags, those wood chips, and you float them on a, you float them like they do with, now
Yeah.
you and I did curado.
Yeah.
And curado, that's a solid tequila.
Mhm.
And then they would take the muslin bags and you have to watch them. You can't just, if you overdo it, then what you're teabagging will overtake and overcome the actual juice that you're working with. And they didn't want that. So curado to me is one of the best examples of what infusing
Right.
tequila is or can be, when you start with solid material. This is a little bit different because I think that they're putting the staves in like a glass container. And Bryce, if you do
Yeah.
the research, you can find those glass containers. They're everywhere.
Yeah. I
And
think I mean, they say here, I mean, they say they're using pressure, temperature, oxygen, and
yeah,
proof.
the
Yeah. I
newer
think there's,
fangled tanks, I think
yeah.
they probably could do that. You know,
Yeah. And with the pressure, what you're trying to do is get that liquid to interact with the wood. And so colder temperatures, you get the wood tightens and it pushes the liquid out. A warmer temperature, the wood expands and it soaks up the liquid. So every time you have that compression and expansion, you're pushing liquid in and out. So you
right?
can't speed that up with pressure, temperature. So, and then, the oxygen is probably just aeration. The proof is probably whatever proof they're doing this process at yields them the best result when it's proof down to 80.
Yeah, they must be if it's coming in bulk. I mean, there's no telling if it's coming in at still strength.
Yeah.
We
And,
don't know.
yeah. And CRT wise, I mean, if you're calling it, if it's bulk, I mean, do you have to stick to the 110? I don't know. I honestly don't know that
I
answer.
don't know that either. I'll have to
Yeah.
do some research on that either, because none of this stuff existed when we started. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, tequila, you got to go to tequila to make it, and that's where people
Mm,
go. I will say on the bottom, it's got a real pleasant aroma, real, and I think you and I termed it honeysuckle. It's got like a nice
okay.
honeysuckle,
Mm,
you know, uh,
yeah.
and it's even got the staves could be charred too. I mean,
Yeah.
you could char the staves too.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it's pleasant on the nose.
Yeah.
I don't hate it. I don't hate
Yeah.
it. I mean,
Yeah, they're playing by a different set of rules, so you got to kind of, you got to let them do that. So at the end of the day, for it just being an agave spirit, yeah, I think it's good. Yeah.
yeah, I do too. I think it's very creative. I think they opened up a separate category for themselves as far as agave spirits are
Yeah.
concerned. But yeah, I think it's a brand of promise.
Yeah.
You
I,
know,
I do too. Yeah.
yeah. Now, the Blanco was priced in the 50s. What's this being priced at?
74.99.
Okay, let me
So
take back what I said. No, no. I
yeah.
there's a again there's a measure of marketing involved here, obviously, right? Because not just the labeling and the branding, but there's a level of marketing here too. They're doing something different. It's proprietary. They may
Mm.
have, maybe they don't even own the the licensing to the to the patent. Maybe
Yeah, they might not own the
they
process
might not
and
own the process, so they
yeah,
have to license it from whoever owns it. So yeah,
yeah.
they're going to pass that along to anybody else. And um, here's the other thing too, Bryce, which is really when you think about this is kind of brilliant. And I don't know, he started Brett started this before the looming tariffs that are coming in from tequila. I don't think that bulk agave, well, I don't know. I could be wrong. Maybe bulk agave spirit will be tariffed. Will be susceptible to the tariffs. Maybe not. I don't know. I don't know. What do you think? I can't. I mean, if it's leaving Mexico and it's coming in, they're all going to know where it's coming from.
Yeah, I mean, nothing's being tariffed at this point, but yeah, who knows? Who knows? But also like the price, sometimes people think that price indicates quality. So maybe they have a lot of money wrapped up in this, or maybe, they just want to kind of be at that $75 range, you know, ultra premium spirit, you know.
Mm.
But that's just their price per single bottle. They do bundles. So the pricing per bottle gets better. And then I did see on their website they had a coming soon with a bottle that's blurred out, and you can tell that these colors are pink. So I'm guessing there's a Rosa. That would be my guess.
Oh, okay. So they're gonna use the wine barrel staves.
And wine barrels. Yeah, that's my guess. They don't
You
say.
know
It just
what?
says coming soon.
I would
Yeah.
like to taste that
Yeah.
because you and I have had, plenty of tequilas that are aged in wine barrels that all impart certain things. Didn't I do Juan de Leon with you? Well, you had
Um,
it. I know you tasted it before.
yeah, I didn't do it with y'all, but I got connected with him through
Yeah.
Tequila Aficionado. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and we were all together in San Diego like
Yeah.
2, 3 years ago. So and he brought plenty of stuff to share with.
Yeah.
So I'd love to taste it. I would.
Yeah.
Because now you got me intrigued, and I would love to know more about their process. How much, again, it's proprietary. You can't, it's like
Yeah.
asking a master distiller, who's making a mixto or you're mixing agave from Tamaulipas and the Highlands. Well, what's your mix? Well, kind of 80, 20, 70,
Yeah.
30. And a lot
But
of that's,
maybe he's refined his sales pitch to where he has more information he can tell us without us knowing how to go recreate it, you know? So he can still
I don't
probably
want to
share.
recreate it. I would
Yeah.
have, if I wanted my own tequila, I think you and I would have done it a long
But
time.
exactly, exactly. Yeah.
But anyway, folks, that's our
Yeah.
take. I think we had to dissect this one. You have to go deep. This was a deep dive in this one because it required it. But I don't hate it.
Yeah.
I was not. I was all set to. I was kind of but it's all right. I think it's okay. I mean,
Yeah.
for
And if
what
you're
they're
trying
trying to do.
to, yeah, and if you're wanting to like sample all the different types of agave spirits, you got to put this in there, I think,
Oh yeah, yeah, because it
So
starts with solid juice. I
that's
will
where I
say
think
that.
it
That
belongs in the conversation,
yes,
you
I
know.
agree. I agree.
I think it's the last video we talked about was like, well, why don't you just create a tequila? You can still do all this messaging, but I think now with this gold, with that proprietary, aging, that's why it's an agave spirit, American
Yeah,
agave spirit.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it's worth trying. So
Yeah, it is. And there's no love lost on the body and the structure. I would say even the staves that they're using imparts a little bit more of the spiciness
yeah,
that you generally get from a real barrel. And the finish is longer. I can tell you the finish is a little bit longer
yeah,
as well. You know what? Uh, I'm impressed. Like you said,
yeah,
belongs in the conversation. I didn't think so, but but like you said, it's a whole different animal.
yeah,
And so, if you folks have had it, what are you paying for it? What are you doing with it? I think it'd be great in cocktails, like even an old fashioned or a Manhattan, like a Latin
yeah.
Manhattan would be really good with this. Um, what would you do with it, Bryce? 'Cause I know
Yeah, I
you and
think
your
it's a good
sister like
substitute for
cocktails.
those whiskey cocktails or those, añejo cocktails.
Okay.
The old fashioned, the Carajillo would
Oh
probably
yeah, yeah,
probably
yeah,
be that spice would come through.
yeah.
Yeah, it's espresso tequila drink.
Oh, oh. Remind me to go drinking at your house.
Yeah,
Next time I go down to Austin,
I bought an
I'm with
espresso
him.
machine pretty much just for cocktails. So yeah,
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. It's not, you know what? I'm
yeah,
impressed. I'm impressed.
yeah.
It's Ameragave Gold. Okay. American Agave Spirit. That's our take. I'm Mike Morales here in Southern California. That gentleman out there is.
Bryce Taylor in Austin, Texas.
You've been watching and listening to Sipping Off the Cuff on Tequila Aficionado Media on all of our channels and networks. Please subscribe, hit the notification bell here on YouTube. Give us a like, share it with others, and subscribe. Our numbers are telling us that, like, there's a fair number of you that are watching our stuff, but you haven't subscribed. Go ahead and do it. It doesn't hurt. And then if you want, you can subscribe to our newsletter and our magazine on the website. But whatever you do,
Hmm.
okay? Tomar sabiamente.
Sip wisely.